It's at 52 degrees. Looks like 51 or 2, 11 degrees Celsius. Finally, the sun's out. The leaves are changing colors. Still got to clean my bench up. I think I'm going to do that before I do anything. Today it's already 3 p.m. Getting started late on this. And before I even start on the forks or the brakes or anything on here, I want to get that wheel polished up so I can drop it off and get the new tire put on. So that's going to be the focus today. It's going to take 3 hours for one side, 3 hours for the other side. So it's tedious, it's got to be done. That's my goal for this evening. About 39 degrees. What's that? Like 5 degrees, 4 or 5 degrees Celsius. It's like 10 a.m., 10:30, Friday morning. And I got one side of this front wheel polished up pretty good for now. And this one I did use the 320 paper on because it had some quite a bit of oxidation right into it. But this side, which I'm just starting on now, I just used the Scotch-Brite here, the scuff pad. Where is it? The red ones. The red ones. So these are, I think they're equivalent to 400 grit. Pretty sure. So it saved me a whole step on this one. So this one should go pretty quick. That's where I'm at right now. And this is something I often do too. I'll put it here, I'll put it on the gauges, especially on the ignition, and torque rear axle, and adjust the belt. So, because it's just snug down there right now. The brakes are still bled up nice and tight. And I'll get back at this one, get her done. Okay, Monday evening. I got this one all polished up, both sides. Got new bearings in. Got the spacer all machined down. And I got the new Dunlop tire on to match the rear. That's ready to go back on. But I'm gonna do the forks next. And I'll do a video on that, the way that I do them. It's kind of a certain order that makes it easier for you to do them. But while I'm doing them, I'm going to polish the lowers as well too. I would have left them, I think, but I started to clean it there, and may as well do the whole thing. Can't stop in the middle of it like that. A couple other things I wanted to point out. I think I showed it in my last video doing the rear wheel, that all of these solid aluminum wheels are made in Australia. There's a stamping on them. I don't know if you can see it on this one, but on the rear one you can see it. Yeah, it might be on, you might have to take this inner part off to see it, but it's on the rear one. They're made in Australia. I guess they all are now. Have been for years. That was the one thing I wanted to tell you. Got the rear wheels all on. Yeah, I put a piece of tape on here. Torque rear axle, adjust belt. You know, I want to make sure I don't put the front wheel on and drive this thing, and I forgot to tighten that up. So the other thing too, I've been reading about these bikes. The more I read, the more I learn. Is the triple sprocket. The triple sprocket's right here, which runs the timing chains to the camshafts, and I think the water pump or something there. There's one bolt that goes in here, and these bikes are not all of them, but all years, I guess it affects. That screw can back out. So I wish I'd known that before. I've already changed the oil and filter. But I'm going to pull that cover off, take that bolt out, red Loctite it, and then put it back in. You torque it to 17 pounds. But I'm going to try to do it a little differently than what I've seen guys do it. I'm going to take the tank cover off so I don't damage it. And I got a couple sawhorses, and I got lots of this foam. And I'm going to lean this bike over on a 45-degree angle and then take that cover off. That way I shouldn't lose any oil. The gasket should stay on place when I put it back together. And that's what I'm going to do. That way I won't scratch or hurt or ding anything. There was one other thing too I was going to say. But what else was there? Parts. I got all the parts. Oh, and the fork seals are in tomorrow in the US of A. So I got to whip over there and grab that if the lineup's not bad in the States. Okay, that's it for right now. Oh yeah, there was one more thing I wanted to mention about putting that back wheel on, which I forgot to mention in other videos. And it's in this parts catalog book. I didn't see it in the service manual, and I haven't seen it in anybody's videos. Nobody talks about it. But when I took off that back wheel, when the bike was sitting over there, this nut was really hard to get off. I was almost thinking it was a nylon nut or it was cross-threaded on there or what. And then I heard a little ping fall on the floor, and that was this Circlip on the end of the shaft. And it makes sense to me to have something there because, you know, all the old bikes would have a castle nut. You know, like this bike here would have a castle nut with a cotter pin in it. Like this Harley, this is a Harley rear wheel here, castle nut with a cotter pin in it. Well, these new bikes don't. It just has that nut, and that's not even a nylon lock nut. And I've seen other guys put wheels on the bike. Nobody mentions this Circlip. And this is a Circlip. There's two different types of Circlips. There's this type. I think this is stainless steel. That one. I'm going to get another one. I actually have got some. I've got some like this in the, this is the parts manual. And there it is there, number 13. And they just called it an E-clip. And there's the part number right there. 41147-01. But this one here, let me zoom in. Where are we? I'm trying to do this by looking through my camera. Yeah, it's just one of those C-clips like that. Goes on the outside of that nut. Just in case this thing ever backs off, it doesn't fall off. I'd still like to drill a hole through it and put a cotter pin in it. You know, at the racetrack, that's what you have to have. You have to drill out every axle pin has to be cotter pinned. Anyways, just thought I'd point that out. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do the front forks. Now I'm going to drain the oil out of them. And there's a couple different ways of doing this. I've seen guys with the V-rod on the internet, they pull the forks, take the fender off, which I'm going to do. Pull the forks off, and then they clamp them in their vise or something. And then they try to undo this nut. And it's very hard to do without damaging this or clamping this with a rubber or wood. So the best way to do is always undo this one first, which I've already done, and leave this one clamped on. Then you can get your socket on there, which I believe is a 35mm socket, but I've got an 1 3/8. I wish it was a 6-point, but it's a 12-point, and that's about the same as a 35. So I put that on there, and I was expecting to wrestle that, but it just turned like butter. It just turned easily. And so that's good, and that's all it needs to be. It just needs to be snug. And this pinch bolt locks it in there tight. There's no way it's coming undone. The other thing when I bought this bike too, I noticed that these forks were sticking up about 1/4 of an inch. And I thought, oh, maybe the guy was trying to, a lot of guys used to do that in the old days, that you could raise your forks up 1 inch, 1/2 inch, and lower the front end down. But that's the way it's supposed to be set from the factory. And that's right here. And 6.4 to 9.7mm fork tube projection. So that's supposed to be there. 1/4 inch to 3/8 0.3 of an inch. That's how much that's supposed to be sticking up. So then the other big question with this bike is how much oil goes in there and what weight of oil. And in previous Harleys and stuff I've worked on, like 10 weight or 15 weight, in that range. I've gone to a whole bunch of V-Rod forums trying to find out what other people do. And Harley makes a special tool for dipping. When you compress this fork, you take the spring out, and then this fork will slide all the way down into here. And it comes down, I don't know how far, but then you stick a dipstick in. It's a Harley special tool. It's supposed to be 3.3 inches from the top when this is completely compressed. Some guys say 3.6 on the forums. Some guys say 18 ounces, 22 ounces, 26, 24 ounces, 48 ounces between the two of them. I'm getting all different numbers. So there seems to be a consensus around 3.3 inches on this one, and that's what this manual says right here. It just says Harley Davidson Type E fork oil. It doesn't tell you the weight, but it's going to be around 10 to 15 in there. Yeah, and here it is, using the Pro Level oil gauge, Harley Davidson part number, adjust the oil level to 3.3 inches from the top of the fork tube. And that's when it's compressed. And I'm pretty sure that's without the spring in there. But let me just check that. With the slider compressed. Okay, so move the slider through its full range. You're trying to pump the air bubbles out when you pour the oil in several times. Then pulling down on the slide, apply downward force, rebound. Tighten the pipe, reposition screw. On the top of the fork tube. I'm sure the spring isn't in there when you do that because it'll be sticking out. And use that gauge. So anyways, here's what I'm going to do. Let's figure this out once and for all for everybody. These fork seals don't leak. There's nothing wrong with them. The only thing that's wrong with them is they're 22, 23 years old now. Because this bike was built in the 7th month of 02. So just about 23 years old. So I'm going to drain them. I'm going to catch every single drop. I'm going to let them drain for maybe a day or half a day. And I may even add like a half an ounce to that or an ounce to account for any oil that's stuck to the springs and everything else in there. And then I'm going to measure the other one. And I'm going to compare the two, make sure I get the same amount. And then I'm going to refill the fork tube when I put the new seals in with the exact same amount that I measure coming out. And then I'm going to measure it, like they say, 3.3 inches from the top of the tube. And guaranteed I'm going to be a little bit shy of that. It's probably going to measure it 3.5 or 4 inches down, and I may have to top it up a little bit. But let's just see how many ounces that takes and how many ounces are in there right now. This thing's only measured to 16 ounces on here. So 20, probably could only hold 24 ounces. But we'll mark it. So I've already loosened that top cap. And I want to take that cap out once I get the bottom plug out of here. So it'll allow air and to let the oil drip out. Oh, I need my, I'm not sure. It's hard to see the numbers on these. I think that's a 5. A 5, yeah. Bigger than a 5. This one, I can't tell what these sockets are. I got metric and standard mixed together and I can't tell which is which. 6. So hard to see. Hopefully I can break it loose here. Okay, I'm gonna take off the top nut now. This is going to want to spring up, so you got to put some down pressure on it, so you don't want to pull out the last couple threads. Oh boy, it's going to come undone. It's probably going to start dripping a little bit once I get this off here. Oh, come on. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's not good. Okay, now, oh, get the camera out of here. Oh, shoot. Okay. Now, where did I just put the stone in here? Okay. It's going to fill it. It should fill this thing to the brim.
See you in an hour or so.
Okay. Oh boy, this thing's gonna be filled right to the brim. Okay. Look at that. Oh brother, it's gonna fill right to the brim. Okay, those eggs are on the front seat. That's going to be just enough. Wow. I think that's over 22 ounces. I'm going to pour it into here. This is marked out in cc's and ounces. I'm going to have to allow for a little bit of loss here. Oh, I'm going to wash this out. You know what? Maybe I won't, because that'll account for what I've lost in there. And it should be pretty dry. Yeah, there's virtually nothing inside here. Not good. Okay, I'm still letting it drip. Still letting it drip there. I spilled probably half an ounce, maybe an ounce. I spilled at least half an ounce, and it's still dripping. But this is where I'm at so far. There's, if you can see that there, that says 22 ounces and that says 28. So right about here would be 24. And I'm at 25, 26 ounces. I think it's going to be like 26 ounces. 22's there. Halfway, like there's 700 milliliters and there's 800 milliliters. So it's going to be around like 780 milliliters probably. 770 or 22, 24 is halfway, 25, probably 26 ounces, 25, 26 ounces. Now what I'm going to do next time, because that little thing there got filled to the brim. So next time I'm going to put the big funnel there, and I'm going to do that side, and I'm going to funnel it directly into this thing, because this will measure it for me and compare it. But yeah, it's going to be somewhere between 750 and 780 milliliters, or 26 ounces. I'm thinking that's 24, and 24 to 28 is 4. 25, 26 ounces. Crazy. That's a lot. Man, because if you do it the way they do it, with the 3.5 inches and pump it and get the air bubbles, you may not get them all out. It may take a long time, might take overnight to get all the little air bubbles out of there. So you might end up with 25 ounces in one and 26 ounces in the other one. But if you pour in the exact same amount to start with, and then over driving a little bit and springs going up and down and all the air comes out, at least you got the exact same amount in each one. That's my theory. And I think if you're within 1 ounce of they're 3.3 inches from the top with Harley Davidson tool, I think that's pretty close. And 15 weight, it's going to be between 10 and 20 the weight. I'm going with 15. Okay, I'm going to do that other one here shortly. Let's just see how much oil's in that one. Okay, I still get that dripping. It's probably 20 minutes. Just the odd drip, but I'm just going to let it drip out. And now I want to take this side out, get it loosened off. But your standard socket isn't going to fit in that hole and undo that one, because it needs to be about 3 inches long. So what I do is I just, I got a junk drawer here just full of Allen wrenches from kits and sets. And then I just find a 6mm one and I cut it off with my angle grinder, which I just did there. And then you could probably do it with that little tiny, the Allen wrench hand, and put a wrench on it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's really tight, but what I like to do is just put this in there loosely like that. And then I'm going to punch out the one that comes in here for now. I can't hold this and do this at the same time, I don't think. Keep that. You know what? This is a tapered, it's 1 mil tapered, so this is too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and just stick it in a 6 mil socket. I'm going to put this back in there. Yeah, I thought it was straight, but that's slightly tapered. It's probably 1/4 inch or something. These are all my metric sockets. And my 3/8 drive ones, I've only got 8 mil, but my 1/4 inch drive ones, I've got a 6 mil. Should be that one right there. So I use that. Then I got an adapter for either my drive gun or my ratchet. Okay. Get that in there. First I'll see if I can loosen it by hand. Oh yeah. Okay. So that's loose. I'm just going to leave it in there for now. And I think I'll do a final measurement on this one. But like I say, I'm sure I've lost a 1/2 ounce. Maybe a total ounce with the residual oil that's left over in this fork. But I'll get a more accurate reading on this one. I'm going to put a big funnel here and catch it in this container. It's still dripping. I'm just going to let it drip for a while longer, just to see how much is in there. I'm just going to loosen this clamp up here, leave the bottom one tight so I can get that nut off. It's 8 mil. You're going to want these 4 properly torqued when we're done. I'll give you those torque specs when we get there. Stop the forks from ever twisting or getting loose. It's a 35 mil or inch and 3/8. Now on that side there, it wasn't on very tight at all. Just see if I can turn it like this. Yeah, it's just that loose. Because this keeps all the pressure on it. Okay, I got to keep downward. Just crank this baby up here a little bit. And keep some downward pressure on this. I don't want this bike tipping off the stand because now all the weight's on the back that I got the wheel on. And maybe when I take these forks out too. So yeah, I think I'm going to put a block of wood under that back wheel. I put a 2x4 under there. It's perfect. Okay. Well, let's get this rolling this way. Put my little catch bucket down there. I figure I lost at least an ounce I spilt or lost of that oil. So when I get to this oil, we're going to try to make sure I catch every drop. I don't want this popping out on the tank cover. I should take that off. There we go. Okay. There's that. It's hard to get these back in. Easier with the tire, and then I could put all my weight on. Sometimes they're really hard to get back in. Okay, let's see if I can do this one without spilling everything. I spilt at least an ounce on the other one. And this doesn't quite fit in there. So how am I going to do that? Okay, just cut the top off of that. So this will go down farther. In there. Like that. Okay, I think we're all set. Better not spill. It's gonna really rush out here at the beginning. Oh boy. Oh boy, it's already starting to drip. It's too slippery for me to turn now. Oh boy. Oh no, fuck. Oh, you're kidding me. Oh, I gotta get my magnet, it's leaking already. You're kidding, come on. Okay, I gotta get my magnet. That goes there. Oh, it's too slippery for me to grab. Oh, come on. I'm gonna get my fingers dried off, it's too slippery. I should have put some tape on it. It's really slippery to turn. Come on. Okay, it's coming now. That doesn't seem like much oil in that one. That's a little worrisome. Okay, I'm not ready to... I don't have the parts yet to take apart these forks. Hopefully they're in tomorrow. But I'm wondering, because I've seen videos too, there's a couple of videos on YouTube of guys refilling these up. You can't do it in here. It has to be on the ground loose when you pump it. You want to pump this up and down and get all the air bubbles out. And then you fill it up and then you measure down 3.3 inches from here. Some say it's 3.3, 3.5, 3.6. My manual for the 2002 and 2003 says 3 3.3 inches. This is a factory manual. But there's two conflicting things in here. I was looking on the internet to see if you put the spring, if you measure it with the springs in and the washer in, or with it out. And I thought it would be out because I haven't done this yet, but if you put the spring in, I thought, oh, the spring's going to be sticking out the top and dripping oil back and forth. But maybe not, so watch. Here it says, did I just lose the page? Yeah, this is confusing because watch this. Reposition fork tubes holder vertically with slider tube compressed. Fill the fork with Harley leaves and Type E fork oil. Seems like the internet believes that's around 15 weight. Until it is approximately 3.3 inches from top of fork tube. Okay, just 1 second here. And pulling down. Okay, so move slider through its full range of travel several times to verify alignment. Then pulling down on the slide to apply downwards forces on rebound spring. So we're pulling downward forces on rebound spring, so it must be in there. Tighten seat screw, pipe screw, 212, 18. The pipe screw is the little screw at the bottom that holds the oil in at the very bottom. But down here it says, slowly pump slider 8 to 10 times to exhaust air from assembly, fully compressed slider to determine the oil. Then it goes here, note, fork oil level is measured from top of fork tube with spacer and spring removed and fork fully compressed. That is the most important part right there because that's going to be the difference of 2 or 3 ounces for sure. And you need this fork oil gauge. No, you don't. I'll show you how we can do it without that. But I'm probably going to go with the ounces and then measure it and see how close I am to what they want. And we'll see how close we are. This is the next day, probably 20 hours after I drain these. This one here, I didn't put nothing under overnight. That's how much drained out overnight after it I had it all cleaned out. So this one, you can see down here, it's easily up to 26 ounces. The black mark was, I'm thinking, around 25. And I probably lost a little bit, so I'm easily going to put 26 ounces in each of these. I just shook this thing up and down some more. And still more was coming out. Okay, I let that drip dry for 24 hours. And it's right at the 800 cc's, just slightly under 28 ounces. And I'm going to call it 28 ounces with a couple drops that were on my hands and my socket and a little spillage. So I'm calling that, I'm going to go 28. That's got to be damn close. And that's factory oil that's in there. It's never been changed. And it's never leaked. So there we go, 28 ounces. I'm going with that. 60 degrees, 15 Celsius. Just got back from crossing the river. Got the fork seal kit finally. It was lost in the mail for a few days. And I'm just about ready to pull the lowers off here. And let's get this little stool here. But before I do, this bike has low miles on it, so I know there's no issue. But if you have a high mileage bike, you can check the bushings. There's a bushing here built into the lower fork tube, and then there's a bushing, bronze bushing on the end of this of the fork tube here. Oh, it should be in this kit here. It should be, oh, there's no bushings in that kit. I don't need them anyways, but I thought this kit came with the bushings. Nope, I don't need them. But when you get, especially when you get this pulled down without the bolt in the bottom, and then if you try to wiggle the forks back and forth this way, there's no play whatsoever. If you got a bad bushing, you're going to feel a single clunk, 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 clunk. And that's how you can tell if you got some worn bushings in there. But this thing has such low mileage on it. Not worried about that. Okay, so with the fender off, it's a lot easier to pop this cap off here now, because now I can turn this towards me. And you want to try to be careful not to ding this. So I'm going to try to find the flattest, either a piece of wood or the flattest chisel I got to fit in there, or punch. So I have this old piece of metal here. I rounded and then I put a flat on one side. I'm going to see if I can pry it up. So far I haven't really made a ding in there, so. Yeah, I don't know if I can get this in there. There's a circlip in there. It's kind of corroded a little bit. Like that there. There's that bushing right there. It's a double bushing, one here, one here. And there's the seal. If I should do the other one at the same time, I don't know. I'll do this one first. So I gotta loosen this clamp off here. Slide the tube out, and then I can take the seal off and the dust seal and put the new one on. These bushings are good. Okay. I thought I had my camera on. I had it off. Anyways, I just flushed this out with a brake clean. And then with my telescopic magnet, I taped some paper towel onto there and cleaned it out like a gun barrel. Same with this tube here. I flushed it out with a brake cleaner. And I was going to put it back together, but I'm going to clean these up. They got like a little bit of surface corrosion on them, especially like there. So kind of wished I left it now because I already started on the other one. And I don't want to take off this reflector, so I'm going to have to work around it. So yeah, I think I might call it for this video right now. And in the next video, I'll be assembling this all together, putting the fork oil in. I got 2 jugs. Looks like I'm going to be putting in 28, maybe 29. I think somebody on there said there's 30 ounces, but I'm going to start with 28 and then I'll measure down from the top and see how close we are. At least I know they're going to be exactly the same. Okay, yeah, I think that's gonna wrap this video up. My videos are too long. I just film everything. You just speed up through the whole thing and watch what you want to watch. But yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.